I'm excited right now when it comes to Zebec, and here's why, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'll discuss 10 cents later on in the video, I first want to explain how, regarding what they're going to be planning to do with Uphold in regards to the NHL and as well as the NBA, they recently released a post, and it's talking about where we'll be able to spot Zebec and Uphold this November. Now, when it comes to the NHL, so I'm talking about hockey, right? It's going to be Monday, November 10th. It's going to be the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Florida Panthers. And also on Saturday, on November 15th, there's going to be St. Louis Blues versus the Vegas Golden Knights. So I think that's pretty cool. We're going to see that hypothetically in November in 2 games when it comes to the NHL, at least according to this post. And I like what I'm seeing there. Now, some people may argue, okay, this isn't really that exciting because the price isn't doing the best. Totally understandable, but I think it's still a major victory nonetheless. And if I take a look at, for instance, when it comes to the NBA, on Monday, November 10th, there's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Dallas Mavericks, or should I say the Mavs. But besides that point, we take a look at the Atlanta Hawks versus the San Antonio Spurs on Thursday. That's November 20th. And now we have Wednesday, November 26th, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. And then last but not least, we take a look at the Detroit Pistons versus the Orlando Magic, which is Friday, November 28th. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool overall. I think that when I take a look at something like this, schedule right here, I think it's very impressive. So 4 games in the NBA and 2 games in the NHL. I'm looking forward to this. Now, sometimes people like to say, again, right, how is this all going to matter if the price isn't doing the best? Well, my response is that I think this right here is kind of, putting a good foundation out there for, let's say, something like Zebec to really get kind of known, or should I say more known. And I think that it's going to hypothetically be towards its advantage, especially if the market picks up again. And let's say I'm just someone watching the NBA or the NHL and I don't know what Zebec is. Maybe I might just not care. But then at least a few might, search it up maybe. They might look at it and see what it is. So I still think it's pretty awesome nonetheless. And not to mention, right, this is combined with, what they're even planning to do with UEFA, or should I say, kind of the soccer thing that they're planning to do. So imagine, they're already planning to do things in the NHL, in the NBA, and also we take a look at UEFA. So imagine 3 major sports right there. We take a look at soccer, we take a look at basketball, and then we take a look at hockey. So I think Zebec is kind of following the footsteps a little bit of other projects out there that have for quite a while been known to be fundamentally amazing in some cases, arguably, but then haven't really had that mainstream popularity yet. And now, sometimes you like to say, why not just do this when the price of ZBCN is doing better? Well, again, if we take a look at the games they have planned out, like for instance in November, when it comes to the NBA and as well as the NHL, how are they going to know exactly at that moment in time how well the altcoin space is going to be doing? What's the sentiment going to be like when it comes to ZBCN? What's the selling pressure? Again, there's a lot of unknowns there, so I think this right here is just overall still a good thing at the end of the day. It's like, for instance, let's say I have a company, right? And I'm trying to release a new product. When I release that product, sure, I can maybe take a look at the market trends and see what's going to happen. But at that exact release moment, I'm not going to know what's going to happen, for instance, in the S&P 500. There's a lot of variables there. So when I take a look at something like, for instance, in the case of, Zebec, sure, it may not be perfect timing in a sense where it's not kind of matching with the price of ZBCN, where ZBCN just having this new all-time high or something. But then in the grand scheme of things, if we take a look at the plan that they're doing, again, kind of more so establishing Zebec as more of this well-known project, I think it's actually good timing in that sense. Because keep in mind, imagine if they have these, things going on, and let's say they have more advertisements moving forward, who knows, only time will tell. And then let's say they get that ISO 20022 compliance. That would be just the cherry on top. So again, something like this, I don't think is such a bad thing at the end of the day. And with all that being said though, sometimes you like to say, but okay, no one really cares about a project like Zebec, which is basically a miniature version of Ripple and Stellar. But then with a Solana aspect, if there is something like already XRP or XLM, why would anyone care about this? Well, my point of view is this. Sure, they're the market leaders. But then at the same time, I don't think every single person is going to want to necessarily just believe automatically in those projects if they are looking for a project that is focused on payments and global trade and finance. And I think several factors could be that maybe the market cap is too massive, right? That could be an argument there. And also on top of that, some people may not just be a fan, right? Who knows? So then I think having options is not such a bad thing. And when I take a look at something like Zebec, I do like it because sure, Solana isn't necessarily doing the best as of right now in terms of is it more popular than a BNB, for instance, because I don't think it is as of right now, but it could be different maybe during an altcoin season, right? Maybe Solana could gain that massive attention again, like what we saw not too long ago. And also on top of that, again, Zebec, with kind of that aspect of Solana, that could maybe be, hypothetically a good thing too for it. Because imagine if someone is taking a look at Solana doing well and they're taking a look at, hey, maybe what's top 10 in terms of utility when it comes to Solana. Maybe ZBCN could be there, when let's say the market is doing good, because even not too long ago, ZBCN was top 10 in terms of utility when it comes to Solana. So yeah, it could be quite fantastic as well, maybe, hypothetically. But at the same time, when it comes to Zebec, I mean, their core focus hasn't changed, right? They're still focused on payments, global chain finance, AI-based payment finance. We take a look at, they're also focused on cards, right? The Zebec cards, which is powered by MasterCard, by the way. They're also focused on real-world assets, or should I say RWAs. So their core focus hasn't changed. It's just, again, the market isn't necessarily doing the best, but I think what they're doing with Uphold is pretty amazing, actually, because a lot of projects out there that are more established, they're not really doing stuff like this. And I think this, if anything, shows the effort. If I were to just take a look at this from a practical point of view, Zebec doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, need to do this, right? It's not like if they didn't do it, they wouldn't survive. But the way I view it is that the fact that they're even doing stuff like this, I think showcases the effort and the kind of ambition that they have moving forward. It just shows a project is not complacent. It is not, just satisfied with where they are. They are looking to kind of, I would say thrive. And I do like seeing that. I think that's a very unique and amazing mentality that I do like seeing when it comes to Zebec. And when it comes to ZBCN, at the price of 10 cents, it is around a 25x from here. So things were just looking a little bit boring. Like a lot of my friends personally that do hold ZBCN, a lot of them are not necessarily wanting to acquire more, but then they don't really want to sell either. So it's kind of like a neutral thing as of right now when it comes to the sentiment when it comes to ZBCN from a lot of my friends that I see. But I haven't given up because not too long ago I saw ZBCN being around 11x away from the price of 10 cents. So what, that's around 2 times more than where we are as of right now. So even if just ZBCN went back to what I saw not too long ago, it's already, around a 2x? I just don't want to give up. That's the way to take a look at it. I'm not telling you to do anything, but I am still dollar cost averaging. And sure, some of my friends out there don't want a dollar cost average even more, but that's, up to them, right? I can't make a decision for anyone. The only thing I'm doing is just focusing on the projects that I do like, and I'm still staying patient because, again, at around a $9.5 billion market cap, it just doesn't seem like something too groundbreaking or something too outlandish. It's not going to break any records, basically. So the way to take a look at it is that it's not necessarily such a ridiculous figure, maybe in my perspective, if that were to maybe even happen. So I just haven't given up overall when it comes to Zebec. I still like what they're doing, and especially what they're planning to do with, the NBA, the NHL. That's something that I'm really excited about as to what, the impact will be exactly. I think in the short term, maybe it might not be too massive because the altcoin space isn't doing the best, but, we never know, right? Moving forward later on when, let's say, the market is doing a lot better. So I'm still waiting. I'm still staying patient. And people like to ask me, when is an altcoin season going to happen? How will I know that? If, let's say, I put up a price chart, I drew a random triangle or something, like I drew a falling wedge pattern, even then the market literally won't care about what I did on that price chart. So at the end of the day, there's no way for me to know when is there going to be a start of an altcoin season. Like, for instance, when I was believing in ZBCN initially, did I know the perfect exact moment ZBCN was going to have that rally and be around 11x away from the price of 10 cents? Absolutely not. There was no way I could have known that. But then I was just holding, right? And then it just did that. So the only thing I can do is just stay patient and just hold and just wait. And if, let's say, there is that next leg up, if, let's say, there's that altcoin season, I just want to be prepared by knowing I am holding. So then maybe it's kind of like going along with the ride. But of course, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not telling you to do anything, but this is personally what I'm doing. So whenever an altcoin season wants to start, be it before the end of this year or let's say somewhere next year, that's beyond my control. The only thing I can do is just control myself, dollar cost average hold, and that's literally about it. However, I want to say thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you all have a nice day. It's Willie the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.